Hello, May class, and welcome to your next English lesson. In the previous lesson, we were looking at modeling. Well, I modeled to you writing our paragraphs out, and then you had a go at making sure you were writing them out correctly. We talked through what went into them, and you have done that for me. So today, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on one of the features that we would find at a sentence level, which obviously means something that's within our sentences. And we have spoken about the fact that in a non-chronological report, most of the time they are written in the present tense, but our text map is about Boudica, who is a historical figure, so it is written in the past tense. So we're going to look at writing in the present tense and in the past tense. And this is important for you to pay attention to, because when you write your own non-chronological reports, you will eventually be choosing your own person to talk about. And if it is a historical person, you will obviously need to write it in the past tense. If it is someone that is still alive today, it will obviously be written in the present tense or the present perfect tense. So we're going to go through this a little bit today, but it's important that we pay attention to the words we're using and how we are structuring our sentences. So today we're going to look at writing in the correct tense throughout your writing. So we're going to look at using different tenses when we are writing. We know that when we are looking at tenses, we're focusing on the verbs in the sentences. So the verbs are the active part of our sentence. They're the doing words that we would be using. And they can also show a time scale, letting you know when something happened, letting the reader know whether something is meant to take place in the past, the present, or the future. And this obviously is known as the tense of a verb. Tense being whether it is past, present, or future. So tenses or tense, we get our past presents are three simple ones and have the power to decide when in time a verb will happen. So if I'm playing, I can be playing now. I will play tomorrow. I played yesterday. So play would be my verb, and it's deciding whether it's going to be in the future, it's going to be now in the present, or it's going to be in the past. So I want you to pause, and either on your whiteboards or on your pieces of paper, you're going to give me an example of a sentence in the past tense. You can give me an example of a sentence in the present tense, and you are going to give me an example of something in the future tense. So pause the video now and give me those three sentences, one in the past, one in the present, and one in the future. Right, so that is something that should have been quite simple to do. We have done this before. You should know your past, your present, and your future tense. And we're going to go a little bit more into that. So, like I said, tense has the power to decide when in time a verb will happen, in the future, in the present, or in the past. There are two different forms of verbs when we are looking at tenses. You get irregular verbs and regular verbs. So irregular verbs don't follow any rules when they change between past, present, and future, but regular verbs follow a set of rules that you would usually be able to add. So, for example, if we look at our picture, it says, when forming the past tense of regular verbs, most of the time we add D or we add ED to the present tense form of that verb. So I cook, I cooked. I play, I played. Okay. If it is using an irregular verb, is something that's a little bit different. So irregular verbs have special past tense forms. So they don't just have an ed at the end or a d. These are specific words that change to something else when you are changing something into the past tense. And these, unfortunately, are just things that you need to memorize, that they don't have an ed and that there is a different form of these. So, for example, drive. You can't say I drived to the cinema. I drove to the cinema. Run. I can't say I runned my race. I ran my race. It's not I swimmed across the pool. I swam across the pool. So often with the irregular verbs, there are specific rules that you just need to know them and need to know that this is the irregular verb. This is what it changes to when I am changing it into the past tense. So I want you to have a look at this paragraph and pause the video now, and I want you to correctly write it out. It is written incorrectly. So the tense that it is written in, it is written in the past tense, but the words that we've used are incorrect. So pause the video now and see if you can correct it. Okay, so I'm going to go through it with you, and you can correct your work if it is incorrect, but you can give yourself a tick for each word that you have changed to the correct tense, to the correct past tense. So of course we start with Boudica, and field is not a word, so we would change it to felt, like fighting yesterday. So she, and we can't say putted. It's not we need to say she put. It is still in the past tense. She put on her armor. And rided is obviously the incorrect version of our past tense verb. So we would say rode her horse to the battlefield, where she, and fighted is also an irregular verb. We can't just add ed to it. So we would say fought so much that the Roman army, and we mentioned this one earlier, run we cannot use, we would say ran away. So looking at my sentence, have a look at yours. Was yours correct? If there was anything that you needed to correct, please make sure to go and do that. Please make sure you've also made you've paid special attention to making sure that your words are spelt correctly, because they are all in front of you, other than the irregular verbs that you may have had to change. If you have got those incorrect, just make sure you correct them so that they are spelt correctly. So this I'm going to go through two little charts like this that may help when you are writing. So this is just a quick explanation of the simple verb tense when we're writing. We've got past in pink, present in green, and the future tense in blue. So past is when you have completed an action or the past state of being. So it has already finished. So you would say Ken walked to school. If it is in the present tense, it's a repeated action, so it's something that's happening again, or to state of being, you would say Ken walks to school every day. And you can see by the little X's that it's something that is happening. It's a repeated action, or it is happening now. All right. We could also make a generalization. So generally, we could say Ken is smart. Okay, because he still is, he was, he still is, he still will be. So it's a generalization that reaches across all of that, and it's happening now. In the future, it's obviously an action that is going to happen. So it is in the future, and we say Ken will walk to school tomorrow. So if we go past, Ken walked to school. Present, Ken walks to school, or Ken is smart. And in the future, Ken will walk to school tomorrow. Where it becomes a little bit difficult is when we're looking at present perfect verb tenses. And these can apply to your past and your present and your future tense. So in the past, the past perfect verb tense, obviously, is an action that has occurred before. So something that happened before another event that happened in the past. So Julie had traveled to hundreds of countries before she moved to Spain. And we could say something similar about Boudica. So if I were to write and I will write it next to this here. So we could say Boudica had defeated many Roman armies before she was finally beaten in battle. So it's in the past, and it says, like we have said, let me just move this so I can read it a bit better. So it's an action occurred before another event happened in the past. So Boudica had defeated many Roman armies before she was finally beaten in battle. So I'm going to just move this one so you can see it. Okay. In the present perfect form, we would say an action that has occurred at an unspecific time, so we're not sure when it happened in the past. So we could say, we would use the words has or have. So Julie has traveled to hundreds of places looking for a place to live. So it's an unspecific time, but it is an action that's occurred at an unspecific time in the past. She has traveled to hundreds of countries looking for a place to live. And then in the future, we would say an action that will occur before another event in the future. So Julie will have traveled to hundreds of countries before the end of the year. So we know that she will be doing that before the year ends, which is obviously another event in the future. So it is something that can be a little bit difficult to understand, but it's a good start. And remembering that in our past perfect tense, we're looking at an action that has happened before another event in the past. And when we look at the present perfect tense, something to remember is that it is something that has occurred in the past. We're talking about a past experience or a change of situation or something like that has happened in the past, but could still be occurring today. So we could still use an example of the fact that there are things that the Romans built in the past that we are still using today. And that could be a sentence that forms that it would have started in the past. Obviously, it occurred at a specific time. So we could say that the Romans built roads. During the Roman Empire, the Romans built roads that we are still using today. So still using today is obviously looking at the present tense, but we're looking at a past event that's occurred with something that's happened in the past. So they built those and we are possibly still using some of them, or they are still around today and we can still go and visit them today. So your tasks for today are as follows. Although most non-chronological reports are written in the present tense, the historical ones, like the ones from our key text, are written in the past tense. And it's important that we make sure our verbs are written in the correct tense when we are writing, and that it is the same tense throughout the piece of writing, and that we're not switching between them. Your 3 tasks today are as follows. You need to correct this paragraph below and rewrite it in the past tense. In your corrected paragraph, I would like you to underline the verbs and then create a short paragraph of your own about Boudica's appearance and make sure it is written in the past tense. Please make sure to share these tasks with us on Tapestry and make sure that your work is uploaded by 4 p.m. this afternoon.